This is Sneaker Gears. My name is Levi, and welcome to a Performance Gears episode where today we're doing a full performance review and comparison on the Cancun-bound Kawhi 1. All right, thank you for everybody for joining the channel. If you like the video at the end, hit the thumbs up button and consider subscribing. We mostly do performance shoe reviews. We also do some running and occasionally some training shoes. So today we have one of the first full review and comparisons that I haven't seen yet on the Kawhi 1. So hopefully I can help you guys out if you're looking to buy a pair as New Balance's premier basketball shoe. And obviously the Claw, multiple Defensive Player of the Year, multiple finals MVP, his signature shoe. And what's cool about this, and one of the facts that stood out to me the most was, and this is from Nightwing, unlike some other players, let's say the King and the LeBron 17, the Kawhi is essentially the exact same shoe we get as the public as what Kawhi Leonard is actually playing in. Now I say essentially because without me knowing for a fact, I'm pretty sure he has his own custom orthotic, but that's it. This is getting all the upgrades that he gets as a player. This is a full performance shoe that when we see him playing in the shoe, and if you enjoy him as a player, if you enjoy the team, you can pick up the same shoe he has, and I think that speaks volumes. Now, as always, I like to start with the fit and the upper, so let's jump right in. All right, so the Kawhi shoe is much like the Clippers. You have a finals champion, you have a multiple-time all-star, you have a couple 6 men of the years, you have all-team defense, and all these players that should have won, and ultimately they were a letdown. So the upper, these materials kind of remind me of Paul George. These are phenomenal, but where it counts the most, I can't say they do the best job. So just like PG, I would love to have him on our team. I'm here from Chicago, Illinois with the Chicago Bulls. I kind of know playoff P doesn't exist. It's not like playoff Rondo. The materials used on this for $160 essentially put to shame every other manufacturer that's trying to charge that amount. The KD 13 for $150, and you can get this much cheaper, and I think it's a much better value, uses incredibly cheap materials. The Curry 7, and the reason I started there is this is the Curry 6. The Curry 7, I think, was one of the worst offenders at $140. That shoe is as cheap and plastically and terrible of a shoe as you could have material-wise. We're not talking about performance yet. We'll jump into that. But this is using, I mean, I don't know if it's a real leather toe cap, but it just feels really nice here. It's using this material that doesn't take too much break in and it flexes with you nicely. The sides here, this woven material is super strong, or at least way stronger than the knit we got on the Ominous. You come around back, again, you just have quality materials, craftsmanship. Everything on this shoe makes you feel like you're getting your money's worth. The way it's constructed, the stitching, what materials they used, how it's put together, the cushion on here just by the ankle collar, everything on this shoe when you first pick it up, it's not the lightest, okay, so you're not picking up the shoe and impressed by that, but it's easy to be impressed by amount of attention to detail and the materials that they put into here. Now, that's not to say everything's great. When it comes down to the actual fit and actual performance, so let's dive in. One, this is just a pain. It just doesn't really open. That's it. So if you have a high instep, you only have about this much space to get in, and it was just one of those things that was always annoying to put on. And I have the next level back here. This was another very similar thing. So it's one of those, I can see a lot of players, if you have a thicker ankle or if you have a high instep, you're just not going to be able to get it on. And one of those shoes that you can't try on, I'm going to tell you, if you have a high instep or a thicker foot, it's just not going to fit. They're just not going to get on your foot. The problem with this is you just have elastic. The problem with this, it's not even no elastic. Like this is fixed. So we work our way into the shoe, and now we come to a place where This, at least on the onset, is not offered in a wide. I was able to get this in a 12.5 on my Ominous, which I have back here. I got a 12 wide after getting a 13. So I've experienced kind of the full gambit of a 12 wide, a 12.5, and a 13 all in the New Balance line. This does run technically a little bit big if you're going to compare it to, say, a Nike. This is a 13, or this is a 12.5 Nike KD13, and this is a 12.5. And you can see the drastic difference. I'm trying to be as fair as I can here on the bottom. Let's make sure it's lined up. Guys, I don't know if you could see that. It is a huge difference where this runs probably a half size long. So unless you're a wide footer, if you want a good fit, go that half size down. Being a wide footer, I had to go a half size up. 13 obviously would have been way too big, and I already have a little bit of length here. My toe is still right behind kind of this leather cap here, so I don't mind that, but I'm feeling it in the fit. No matter how much I torque down these laces, I'm not getting as much containment as I would have liked with the amount of strength that this material offers. Another thing that I don't like that they did or didn't do is, if you notice right here, this is just a straight cut. So what happens is, as it starts to wrap around your foot, it doesn't have the outline or the cuts that a lot of other shoes have. It doesn't have the flexibility to really mold to your foot. So you potentially have some bunching up going around here. Now, I don't have too much bunching because I have a wide foot, and this did start to mold to my feet. So after a few wears, probably by the third wear, so we're talking about 5-6 hours of play, it started to fit decent. But I'm still longing for getting a 12, which is a half size smaller than this, in a wide, because even if you look at the bottom here, and we'll get the support in a second, this is a much more narrow last than what we got out of the Ominous, and, well, by comparison, even the Adidas line. So if you have a wide foot or a flat foot, the way this tooling comes up right here, and hopefully you guys can see it, it's going to come up and kind of hit. So this is limiting a lot of people who would enjoy this shoe. That if you don't have the right foot, you're just not going to be able to enjoy it. Now, I love the materials, but the execution of it and the fact that they haven't given us the full width available, and even if the widths are available, they're generally only available at newbalance.com. And from some of our subscribers all around the world have said New Balance doesn't even offer wide worldwide. I know that's something they only offer in certain countries. So even then, it's not something I'm going to be able to recommend to a lot of people in the audience who are watching this. And if you guys even want to compare the base, and you can kind of see that here, to the Ominous, you can see the Ominous is much wider here at the midfoot. Now, this is a wide, so of course it's going to be wider, but even with the regular, I did a 13 on these initially. I was still able to get a decent lockdown. I was just surprised how much better it fit once I was able to go with my true size, which is a 12 wide. 12.5 in the majority of my shoes fits perfect. 12.5 in the Curry 6, 12.5 in the KD 13. 12.5 on this is big. It's affecting lockdown, and even if I did go down, it's not going to fit best with wide feet. All right, so if the upper was kind of like Paul George, the support is definitely where Kawhi makes his statement and puts his stamp of approval. When you're the multiple defensive player of the year, you are putting a lot of pressure on your shoes with that lateral movement to stay quick, stay in front of your offensive player. So as a defensive player, you need a lot of support and stability, and this shoe has it in spades. The material is much stronger than we got in the knit, this woven upper. The base is even wider at the forefoot. Unfortunately, it doesn't translate into a wider fit, but it's incredibly well balanced without having a giant outrigger. It's just something that really protects your foot. The heel cup is as beefy as they come, where you just feel locked in. The lacing does pull you back into the heel cup way better than it does on the Ominous. And this is something that on all levels, on lateral containment, on stability and balance, and on lockdown, this is an outstanding shoe. And I like how they made it almost a low top, but this isn't as high as what we had with that big ankle strap on the Ominous. So I think majority of people will be able to enjoy that more, but you just have a fantastic supportive shoe for what it is. So if you've had injuries, if you're looking for something with a lot of support, this is definitely up there on the scale of what's available on the market. Down to the cushion. So this is using the fuel cell cushioning that they premiered in the basketball lineup in the Omnis, and this is something that New Balance rolled out about 2 years ago, with their first shoe being the Rebel in the running line. Now, they tune their fuel cell cushioning much like Under Armour does with their hover cushioning, or Nike does with their Zoom Air. You have really soft, maybe bouncy setups, and you have kind of firm, harder setups. Well, this was interesting. The Omnis, and I'll pull that out here, did a great job of just being incredibly balanced. I think it did an incredible job absorbing impact. It wasn't necessarily bouncy at all. It was more court feel, but it still had a kind of a softer instep while you were running the court. You didn't feel any shock coming up. It's firm walking around, but absorbed the impact, absorbed the shock, and while you were running in the higher impact, it did feel a little bit softer. So this was a much better balance. I find just from my own inspection, my own analysis, this has a little bit more cushion in the heel. So upon landings, if you have a lot of shock in your heel, this is going to be a little bit better. This has a little bit less cushion in the forefoot. So when I was doing quick moves, jabs, I actually felt the shock a bit more in this. Now at the same time, it still did a decent job absorbing impact. This felt much softer just walking around. If you were to put these two side by side and just walk on the court or just do kind of slow drills, this was a little bit more comfortable. As you started running and jumping and landing hard, this really started to show this was a much thinner cushioning, and I really wanted to break down how this fuel cell fits, so hopefully I have a few comparisons here to break it down for you. The closest competitor that first came to mind was what Anta is doing with their, I believe it's A-Flash. So Anta has a few different shoes. This is the Gordon Hayward. They have obviously the KT line, the Anta KT 4, 5, 6. I want to get the 6 coming out here soon. This feels like you're riding twice as high. This has a lot of foam in it. It actually feels pretty similar. So if you've heard good reviews from this, you're going to enjoy this. But this, you're getting a much lighter shoe. You're closer to the court. And overall, I think you still have better shock and impact protection with the fuel cell cushioning. That's not to knock the GH1, but you have something where New Balance has been making shoes for a long time. And I imagine they have a little bit more research and development into this cushioning and how they're using it in their shoes, and it shows. Third, I wanted to compare it to the Curry line. Now, I don't have the Curry 7. I do have a full review. You guys can check that out. I'll try to put a link here in the description or up here. This is the Curry 6. Now, the Curry 6 was a shoe that reminded me with full hover. Whenever I played in it, it felt completely firm and dead, but I would get that bounce when I was running. I would get that bounce when I would land, and I had great impact protection. The Curry 7 was a little bit softer than this. When I say a little bit, I'm talking probably just under 10%. I guess we had a durometer to measure the softness, so still very firm. This reminds me a lot of what the Curry 7 was, except this is much softer walking around, but the Curry 7 might have better impact protection. So, but these are going to be really close. If you like the Curry 7, this is something you're probably going to like the Kawhi with that upgraded materials. And the Curry 7 ran super narrow, which is why I returned it and don't have it. So if you fit the Curry 7, you're probably going to have no problem fitting this as well. And finally, the last few shoes are going to be, well, the first was going to be the Dame 6, but the Dame 7's coming out, and that's not quite a fair comparison. We have a $160 shoe and $110 or $120. So I compared it to the next level, which is another $150 shoe, full-length foam. Now this is using their Light Strike foam, and it's just vastly better. Especially in this iteration, I haven't done a full review on this, guys, but this foam is lighter, softer, it's bouncier, it's more cushion, better impact. It's just a better foam in every single regard. The only person or the only players who are not going to like this foam is if you want less cushion, which actually there's quite a few players. If you want to feel closer to the court, which not really there because you are close to the court. These are light, but this is still a soft, bouncy cushion. Now, it doesn't slow you down at all. This is an incredibly balanced shoe. I love the Dame 6 cushion, and that was the only thing I think every reviewer really enjoyed on the Dame 6. This probably has twice as much cushion, at least that's what it feels underfoot, except we're getting much durable traction, better traction overall, better materials and construction. And this is what prevented me from getting a second pair of Dame 6s despite all its flaws. And now with the Dame 7, I'm not really worried about that. But cushion to cushion for the same price, you're getting a way better setup from Lightstrike, from Adidas, especially in this next level. And finally, I know it's not fair, that KD 13 with that cheap upper, but the fit's amazing, the traction we'll get to. This is one of the best cushion setups you're going to find. It's not close, guys. I don't care who you are, you're going to enjoy it. Even if you don't like a bouncy cushion setup, it's so much fun. You'll find room to use it in your rotation. So yeah, that's not a close comparison. But again, this is full length zoom, double stack 4-foot zoom. Maybe not as long lasting as what this is going to be, especially with the cheaper materials and cheaper construction used on this. So different kind of players are going to enjoy these two, but the cushion, and that is in a different league. Finally, the traction. Now, the ominous traction with a herringbone setup was elite, and I think it had more to do with the rubber compound. The fact that it was herringbone is tried and true, and it just works. This is using more of that organic circular pattern. Let's see if we can get here, and I'll get some close-ups. But this material is still rather firm. I can barely move it with my nail here. So it's durable. The compound works if it's dusty, if it's clean, doesn't matter what court you're on. And the pattern is just fantastic. It wraps around on the sides just enough where it really does help if you do kind of toe drags. This traction it's close to Hall of Fame. It really is. So when you have a really elite traction, you have cushioning that's still quite good. You have materials that just are awesome. Whew. Let me break it down. So much like the Clippers team as a whole, with a lot of talent, and everyone wanted to see them versus the Lakers, and a lot of premier analysts picked the Clippers to win the championship this year, fell short. No matter who you want to blame, what you want to blame, the scheme, the coaching, the camaraderie, the Kawhi is kind of similar. This has amazing parts to the shoe. A shoe that has traction this good, that's this durable, that you can use indoor and outdoor, materials and craftsmanship and build quality this good. Having a cushion that actually stacks up very well against some of the best on the market. It should be higher, but that fit, the way they did improve it much from the ominous, making it harder to get on, making it a little bit more narrow here, making shoes that run a little bit long compared to the rest of the market. I mean, here, I can show you guys a comparison here. It's gigantic. Okay, we have the same size here. That was a Curry 6. So it runs large. The sizing on this and the fit on it just ruin everything else. And I always say fit is the most important part of any shoe, no matter what you're doing, performance or casual. And if you find a good fit, a lot of people fall victim to, they think the shoe is super comfortable because the fit's that important. Now, Nightwing says traction is the most important thing, and I can't fault him because even if you have a great fit, if you're actually going to be using this on court and you're slipping around, it doesn't matter. The traction on this is phenomenal. The materials, the support is phenomenal. This is a great shoe that I wish fit me better. Now, fortunately, my instep is just low enough I can get it on. The 12.5 is just wide enough it fits to my foot. This is something I can wear and I can enjoy, and I do like it. But honestly, whenever I'm looking to play in these again, I'm grabbing the next level. I'm going through the same pains to put it on, and once it's on, I'm getting that really nice knit upper. I'm getting maybe a little bit less support, but I'm getting traction that's pretty much almost as good. With that gum rubber, it's almost as durable, probably less durable because it's much softer, but I'm getting just such an upgrade in the cushioning and a fit that is a little bit more forgiving with that knit. For $150, and these are available with discount, we'll have some links in the description where this is available for generally under $100 depending on the colorway, versus something that is going to be hard to get, that's limited, that is still $160. Man, this is a tough one for me to recommend to you guys. Hopefully that video helped you out, kind of broke things down a little bit. If I missed anything, please put them in the comments below and I'll try to either answer you guys or do another video for comparisons or anything else you guys want to see. As always, if you like that video, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing to the channel. Guys, I really appreciate you. This is Levi of Sneaker Gears, and I will see you later.